Hello and welcome back to the Beautiful Things channel. As promised, here is part one of my sew along to create a hack of a vest with a frilly sleeve. Now for this hack you will need some t-shirt jersey and you will also need a sewing pattern that is suitable to be hacked. Now I've used the Tilly the Buttons Agnes top, so it's not a raglan sleeve. That's the most important thing. So any top that has short or long sleeves, it doesn't matter which, and a scoopy neck, but that is not raglan sleeved. Now the first thing you're going to want to do is trace off the back pattern piece for your top, and it's only the back that you're going to need. Then you're going to want to scoop out the armhole a little bit. Because your top is designed to have a sleeve set into it, and we're not putting a sleeve in, you're going to want to lower that armhole ever so slightly. Now this particular part of my hack I am not going to claim credit for. I actually found out how to do this from Like So Amazing, so I will link some of her videos down below because she's done quite a few Agnes hacks. What you want to do is to take your back pattern piece and you're going to get your armhole here and you're going to measure down using a ruler about 1.5 inches from the underarm point and make a little mark. Then what you want to do is scoop this out, but you don't want to change anything up here. So you're going to just sketch down with a pencil. There's a little notch here and I'm probably about, I don't know, 1 inch or so above that notch. I just start to sketch down and bring it round to meet under the arm here. So you can see I've scooped out about this much. So I've not changed anything up here. Just above this notch, I've come down and I've scooped out this part. And I'm going to cut this away from my paper pattern. So once you've cut away the arm and you've got your back piece as you need it to be, you're going to cut out 2 back pieces exactly the same. One's going to become the front and one is the back, but you're going to cut 2 out. Once you've got your 2 pieces cut out, decide which one is going to be the back and which one's going to be the front. You might have a prominent pattern, so you might want to pick one or the other. So I'm going to leave this one as my back and this one's going to be my front. What I need to do now is to lower the neckline ever so slightly on the front. It's up to you whether you want to do this or not. If you like the neckline of your existing top and you've made it before and you want your vest to have it, that's fine, but the Agnes sits about here and I know on a vest top I prefer it to be a little lower and a little bit more scooped out. Now this next bit you can be brave or not. You can use scissors, rotary cutters, the choice is yours. You're just going to scoop out and lower your neckline in exactly the same way you did with your armhole. I've got my neckline here. I'm going to come down the shoulder and I'm not changing anything up here, but I'm going to come down the shoulder and then I'm just going to scoop out from the front here, and I'm going to just do it with my rotary cutter. Now with the first top I made I only came down probably 1/2 inch, but actually this one I fancy it being a little bit lower, so I'm actually going to come down a whole inch, so I'm going to be brave. So I'm just going to get my rotary cutter. I'm going to start roughly 1 inch down and I'm just going to slice up and come into line with that shoulder strap again and remove that segment. Now you might want to keep hold of that segment if you've been brave, because if you know that it's perfect next time around you can transfer that mark into your pattern. As you can see on my pattern here that's about 1/2 inch and I've just drawn scoop just to remind me to do that on the front, but I'm also going to do another mark now. I'm going to take this pattern piece, this little piece of fabric, pop it on top and do another little mark here for my lower scoop, so when I come to making it again I can make a decision based on previous tops that I've made. The next thing you're going to want to do is to make some further pattern pieces. These are the pieces for your frilly sleeve and also your neckband. So we'll start with the frilly sleeve. If you've got some pattern paper, all you're going to do is draw a rectangle that is 15 inches by 4 inches wide. And you're going to mark on one of the narrow edges, one of the 4-inch edges, a fold marking, because you're going to be using that pattern piece to cut out on the fold, so that your shoulder piece, your frilly piece, is 30 inches by 4 inches wide when it's cut out. So your pattern piece wants to be 15 inches by 4 inches with a fold marking on the narrow end. Then we're going to cut those 2 pieces of frilly fabric out. Now again, you can transfer this to your pattern if you want to. I don't, I just do it automatically each time I cut out. But you've got a rectangular piece here, still folded, so this is my 30 by 4 piece. And as you can see with this one, it's got a curved edge, and I've cut this one already just so that I can show you how I did it. I've probably measured in fact, I'll tell you, yeah, 3 inches. So I measured in 3 inches, made a little mark, and I used my rotary cutter to cut from the 3-inch mark round to the bottom corner. Now you could put that onto your paper pattern piece if you wanted to, it's entirely up to you, but I just tend to cut it just by eye. And once I've cut one of them, I place that on top, and I will then use my rotary cutter to just take off that secondary curve. You don't have to be 100% precise with this, because all of this is going to turn into a rolled hem. So you should now have a front and a back and 2 long pieces with curved edges for your frilled shoulder. The next thing we need to do is make pattern pieces for our neckband and our armband, but you can't actually do that until you have created the bare bones of your vest, because you need to take measurements from your finished neck shaping and your finished armholes to get the exact band that you need. So to do that, you're going to take your front and your back, and you're going to place them right sides together, and you're going to join them at the shoulder seams. Be sure to use the seam allowance that your pattern requires. So the Agnes, for instance, is a 5/8 seam allowance, so I'm going to make sure that I use the 5/8 seam allowance on the shoulders. You're also going to join from the underarm down to the bottom of your top, and again you want to make sure that you use the required seam allowance, so make sure you check your pattern and check what that seam allowance is. A lot of stretchy garment patterns actually come with a 3/8 seam allowance, so do make sure that you're using the right one, otherwise your garment's not going to fit you properly. So you've sewn your top together down the sides and across the shoulders. I've used my overlocker to do it, but you can just do it on the sewing machine. So obviously don't be put off by the fact that I don't have any seam allowances. They've all been zhuzhed off. You now need to determine the size of the neckband and the size of the armhole. So we'll start with the neck. What you want to do is bring the front edge up so it meets the back edge. And I like to just put a clip on it, or you could put a pin in it. And then once you've clipped those 2 together, you can just ease the fabric out. And again, I like to clip all the way along, and then I know I'm getting it right. And I'm just bringing the 2 edges together so that I'm going to clip it together all the way along here and all the way along here. Once it's all clipped together, then you can just gently ease it so that it's straight. Don't stretch it out, because you want to get a true measurement, and you can use your tape measure to measure the length from one shoulder to the other. So for me, that measurement is 18 inches. Now, I like to create my pattern pieces so that I cut them always on the fold, because that measurement from shoulder to shoulder was 18 inches. If I times that by 2, that is 36 inches. And creating a pattern piece that is 36 inches is, you know, it's too big, it's too long. So we're going to work in halves for this. So firstly, you don't want to create a neckband that is exactly 36 inches all the way round. It won't have any pull on it. And the idea of the neckband is it stretches, and so that it kind of clings the top to you. So what you actually want to do is reduce that measurement by 20%. So take whatever your measurement is from shoulder to shoulder, and we're just going to work on that. We're not going to double it. We're going to work on that measurement, so 18 inches, and reduce it by 20%. Alexa, what's 20% of 18?
20% of 18 is 3.6.
There you go. Who else uses her as a calculator? Is it just me? Take your 18 inches or whatever your measurement is across and take off that 20%. Now, I was told it was 3.6, so to make life easier, I just make it 3.5. I always round it either up or down to the nearest quarter of an inch. It just makes my life easier. So I'm going to create a pattern piece that is 14.5 inches long, and I'm going to make my pattern piece 2.25 inches wide. So just to clarify, take your measurement from shoulder to shoulder. Remove 20%. That is how long your pattern piece wants to be. It then wants to be 2.25 inches wide. Draw on one of the narrow ends a fold marking because you're going to cut it on the fold. So here is my finished piece. You can see it's just a long strip by 2.25 wide. I've drawn my fold marking on here. I've reminded myself that it's 2.25 wide in case I ever want to create another one for a different garment that's a different size. And I've made a note on it to say that it's for my Tilly Agnes vest hack in size 5, and it's the neckband. And I've got that then to use again. The next thing you want to do is create a pattern piece for your armhole, and you're going to do that in exactly the same way. So put the two sides together and measure from the shoulder to the armpit, and that is the measurement you're going to use. Reduce it by 20% and make a pattern piece that's 2.25 inches wide. Again, make sure you draw that fold marking on, because when you cut your pattern pieces out, you want to place that on the fold. So you're going to go ahead and cut out 2 armholes and 1 neckband. Once you've finished that, you should have a top that is stitched at the shoulders and the side seams. You should have a neckband, a pattern piece all cut out, and 2 armbands all cut out on the fold. You should also have 2 frilly bits with rounded edges also cut out on the fold. And that is where I'm going to leave you for part 1 of this sew along. I think that gives you enough to be getting on with. Join me again in a week's time when we will start to construct it all, and I will show you my top tips for making armbands, and I'll also show you how to do a rolled hem on your frilly bits. Now, if you don't have an overlocker, you're not going to be able to do that, but it doesn't matter. I will show you how to hem it too. So I'll see you all again in a week's time. If you're working on this during the week, please, please, please do tag me on social media. If you're on Instagram, I'm ArtyFartyMac, or you can also find Beautiful Things HQ, which is this studio here, BTHQ. So please tag us on your Instagram stories. I'd really love to see your tops getting put together. And also, if you're on Facebook as well, you can tag me. I'm Claire McInnes. You can find my details down below if you want to become friends with me and share your progress. Likewise, if you've got any questions, I'm happy to answer them via any of those channels. I will see you all shortly. Bye!